The first hammer strike echoed through the valley like a challenge to the world, a declaration that someone new had arrived, someone unafraid to carve a life out of wilderness. High on the ridge above, a lone cowboy pulled his horse to a stop, heart thudding as he watched the slender figure lifting timber with more grit than strength. He didn't know her name. He didn't know her story. But in that moment, as golden evening light draped over her like a blessing, he felt something he hadn't felt in years: hope. Her name was Elara Finch, barely 20, small but stubborn, and determined to build a life with her own 2 hands. She had arrived in Clearwater Valley with nothing but a wagon of supplies, her father's old axe, and the fierce belief that solitude could heal what life had fractured. She'd been raised in a crowded town full of loud gossip and louder expectations, and after her father died, she vowed to live quietly, freely, and untouched by anyone's judgment. What she didn't know was that she wasn't as alone as she believed. Watching from the ridge was Cade Rowan, a cowboy with weathered boots, a gentle soul, and a loneliness that followed him like a shadow. For 5 years he had worked these lands as a hired hand, tending cattle by day and staring into empty firelight by night. People came and went, seasons changed, but nothing filled the hollow ache of wanting a home, and someone to come home to. The day he saw Elara for the first time, struggling to lift a log twice her size, something inside him stirred. Not desire, not at first, but admiration. Respect. Curiosity. He wasn't used to seeing anyone new in the valley, much less a young woman determined to build her own cabin alone. From then on, he found himself circling the ridge almost every evening, watching the small structure rise from the earth inch by inch. He kept his distance, though. The last thing he wanted was to frighten her or make her think he was some backwoods prowler. Still, he couldn't deny the way he hoped, quietly, foolishly, that fate had brought her there for a reason. Weeks passed, and Elara fought through splinters, blisters, and storms that nearly tore her half-finished roof from its beams. Every challenge she met with stubborn fire, her blue eyes blazing with determination. But there were nights she sat outside her tent, shoulders shaking, whispering to her father's memory that she was trying, she really was. And from far off in the dark, Cade watched, heart tight, wishing he had the courage to step forward and offer help. One afternoon, disaster struck. While trying to notch a supporting beam, Elara misjudged the angle. The heavy timber slid, pinning her leg beneath it. She cried out in pain, clawing at the dirt, but the weight was too much. Panic set in as the sky darkened and the woods grew silent around her. Up on the ridge, Cade heard the faint cry echo like a gunshot through the stillness. He didn't think, he just moved. In minutes he was there, jumping off his horse and rushing to her side. "Hold on, I've got you," he said in a voice as steady as the mountains. Elara, half delirious from pain, blinked up at him. She had never seen eyes so gentle. He lifted the beam off her like it weighed nothing, scooped her into his arms, and carried her inside her tent. He bound her leg, built a fire, boiled water, and stayed just close enough to help but far enough to respect her space. When she was finally able to speak, she whispered, "Thank you, I didn't even know anyone lived near here." Cade gave a shy, nervous chuckle. "Didn't mean to frighten you. I've been ridin' past for work. Saw you buildin'. You've got grit most folks only dream of." For the first time in months, Elara felt something warm bloom inside her: trust. Days passed as she rested. Cade came by quietly, bringing food, checking her injury, leaving before she felt overwhelmed. It wasn't long before she began waiting for his footsteps, listening for his horse's soft snort. They spoke about life, loss, and dreams. She told him why she came to the valley. He told her how loneliness had shaped him, not broken him but left him yearning for something he couldn't name. Their connection grew like a fire built slowly, tenderly, carefully, with sparks that warmed rather than burned. When Elara could walk again, Cade offered to help her finish the cabin, "Only if you want," he added quickly. She smiled, soft, hesitant, but grateful. "I do want," she said. They worked side by side, her hammering, him sawing, teasing each other gently. Each plank they lifted felt like a small piece of healing taking shape between them. Cade never pushed, never flirted crudely, never assumed. He treated her like she was something precious, not fragile, just worth respect. And Elara, who had vowed to live untouched, found herself slowly letting him in. When at last the cabin stood complete, sturdy, warm, and proudly handcrafted, She laid her palm on the doorway and whispered, "I couldn't have done this without you." Cade swallowed hard, tipping his hat. "You could've. You're stronger than you know. But I'm glad I didn't have to." Her voice trembled slightly. He turned away, not wanting to hope for something she didn't offer freely. But then he heard her footsteps behind him, felt her hand brush his sleeve. "Cade," she said softly, "you watched over me even when I didn't know it. You didn't owe me anything, but you cared anyway. No one's ever done that." He breathed out, eyes closing. "I didn't want to scare you. I just didn't want you to be alone." Elara stepped in front of him, lifting his chin. "Maybe I don't want you to be alone either." The valley wind stilled as if holding its breath. For the first time in years, Cade allowed himself to truly hope. They didn't rush anything. They built something slowly, a friendship, then affection, then a quiet, powerful love that felt like sunrise after a long, cold night. Elara remained independent, strong, and fearless. Cade remained gentle, respectful, and steady. Together they balanced like two sides of the same mountain peak. By the time the next spring warmed the valley, the cabin wasn't just hers anymore, it was theirs. A place built not only from timber and nails, but from healing, courage, and the unexpected magic of being seen. And the message their story carried, whispered on the valley wind for years to come, was simple.